Update.
Welcome back to TV 48 Update. I'm your host, Catherine Pugh. I'm joined by Dr. Simeon Hein. He's written this book. It's called Opening Minds, and it's about a journey of extraordinary encounters, crop circles, and renaissance. Now, you may not know what that means, but by the time the show is over, I'm sure they will know.
That's right.
Welcome to TV 48.
Well, thank you, Catherine. Thanks for having me here today.
Good. Had a chance to glimpse through this book,
Yeah.
and very interesting. Raises a whole bunch of questions, but why don't you just give us a quick overview of the book, and then we'll talk about some of the things that are in here.
Yeah. Well, Catherine, you know, I used to be a statistics teacher. I have a Ph.D. in sociology.
A statistics
I used to
teacher.
teach.
I got an A.
Oh, good for you. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, I used to teach social research methods and other types of topics, and I didn't believe in any of these phenomena.
Really?
No, I was skeptical about a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
And I took this class in 1996. After I got my degree, I took this class in remote viewing, which you may have heard of before, but it's this ability to perceive things from a distance. And I went to this class in the Farsight Institute in Georgia, Atlanta, and I wanted to see if I could do it or not. I really didn't think that I could do it. I knew there were special people who were psychic and all that, but I didn't think that I could do it. But
see, I always feel like I'm psychic, or that I've been someplace before, I've said something before, or I've been to a particular point in time. You know, you say something, you say, I think I said that before. So.
But see, the thing is, everybody is psychic. But I didn't think everyone was psychic at the time. I just thought it was special people until I took the class and realized that I could draw these things that I hadn't seen before that were hidden in an envelope on the table over there that I couldn't possibly see. And yet I could reproduce the picture or a good description of the so-called target. And everyone else in the class could too. And it really opened my mind to a lot of other topics. Like channeling and crop circles and UFOs and things that I really hadn't paid a lot of attention to before. Dreams and lots of other types of alternative forms of communications that people have available to them from their subconscious and other types of brainwave states that we're not used to, you know, experiencing because of our educational system usually kind of.
Well, we're in a rigid box. I mean,
it's in a box. We're in the box.
Yeah.
And I was in the box too, like everyone else, having been in school for like 25 years. And so I really thought I'd write a book about my experiences with the paranormal world, not from the point of view of a skeptic, but from the point of view of someone that has kind of been in the traditional academic system and then realized that it's all true, that all of these subjects have a lot of support behind them. Oh yeah, they do. And it's really more our cultural background, which is the kind of the skeptic in us, which says, that can't be true, it can't be true. But if you look at the data, you'll find that it is. And that's really what the book's about. It's kind of this new type of physics from quantum mechanics and resonance, as you mentioned, which show that we can be in tune with different types of frequencies and energies, which maybe we're just experiencing, or a group of people are experiencing at the time, that is not part of our ordinary social reality, but it's still real.
Is that is that partly because of the way that we're educated or taught to focus, you know, not on the things that are in our peripheral, but not necessarily things that we're in contact with?
I think so. You know, I think our system teaches us to pay attention to the physical world more than it does to energy, and to pay attention to things that we can prove and verify, that are easy to prove and verify because they're physically real and we can measure them easily. But what about all the experiences that people have? You just mentioned deja vu and things like that, which science has.
But we say it, but we don't believe it.
That is exactly it. We're kind of having
this is deja vu.
That's right. We have this split mind about all these topics. We experience it, and our formal culture says that can't be real, right? I mean, that's just your own perception. That's something you made up. But how come everybody experiences it? And that was my personal experience with these topics, is I began to have my own experiences in contact. And I couldn't dismiss it that easily. It wasn't just because it happened to me.
Okay, but was this a result of, I mean, your consciousness because of the course that you took?
Yeah, I think it was, because I really had to suspend a lot of my beliefs about reality when I took this course. Now, I'll tell you something. Remote viewing, it really comes out of a military program during the Cold War in the 1970s. Our government developed this to develop psychic spies. So they know it works because it was being funded by the intelligence agencies for 20 years, since the 1970s. The Russians had been doing this since the 1950s.
So explain it. Explain it.
Well, really what it is, it's just the ability to perceive things at a distance, and you can assign a target or an objective ahead of time for the person to view, and you can imagine how the military would want to use that. I mean, we're in a situation right now where we may be approaching, you know, a war or something like that, and the military always wants to know where things are and where people are and things like that. So the military used remote viewing And other agencies used it too to kind of keep track of people and hostages when that sort of thing would happen, or locate missiles, you know. And during the last war with Iraq, they actually used it to locate Scud missiles. They had viewers working back here in the United States. It's not affected by distance, so you can view something very far away, just as
How come
accurately.
we haven't found those bombs or weapons of mass destruction?
You don't know that they might have found it. We really don't. You know, it's so complicated. But all I can say is the experience of the viewers I've talked to who worked in the military said it worked, because the agencies that came to them for information came back every year for more information. And they don't do that if it wasn't working the first time. So we know that it works. And I hadn't really read a lot about it when I took the class, but I found that I could really do this too. And you can do it whether you're skeptical or not. You can do remote viewing. It's built into all of us. We do it as children, but we're kind of gradually, we lose touch with that part of ourselves as we get older, because our educational system, as you mentioned, kind of makes us pay attention to easily provable, measurable things.
Right.
And this is a kind of a subtle energy.
Things that we can see right in front of us.
Things that you can see, and things that you can justify why you got the answer.
Why you have the answer.
But with remote viewing, you don't know why you got the answer. You just get these images in your mind because you asked your subconscious to focus on something in a folder and actually go to that site. The folder kind of indicates where you should go in the universe, to which building or which country or which person, to get information. And you're going to get spontaneously information about different things and people and places. And it's not coming from anything in the room. And that's the thing. We're so tuned to our 5 physical senses that we basically don't think that anything that we can't verify with those senses is real, unless we can call someone on the phone or find some way to get the information. So it's stuff that is coming from somewhere else. And it's amazing how often it is accurate. There are pictures in the book that show how accurate it can be.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to look at some of those pictures, okay?
Sure.
Stay with us. You're watching TV 48 Update. I'm your host, Catherine Pugh. We're asking you to open your mind. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. 48 Update will return.
Welcome back to TV 48 Update. I'm your host, Catherine Pugh. I'm talking with Dr. Simeon Hein. We're talking about his book, Opening Minds, and it talks about the extraordinary encounters, crop circles, and resonance. You said there were pictures.
You got one right there.
Okay.
Now just take a look at this. Let's hold it up for the camera to see. I mean, here's a picture, for example, on this page. The picture in the folder was a rocket ship. And it's hidden from the viewer. They're not showing this picture ahead of time. And here they draw a rocket ship, just exactly like the one in the picture. Or on this page, I gave this particular viewer a picture of a race car in a stadium, and he started drawing a race car, and then he started filling in the stadium, and then his mind said, this can't be a race car in a stadium, because our conscious mind has a little trouble with this because it works so well. Our conscious mind likes to be in control, but it's not really coming from the conscious mind.
So is this taught? So
yes,
this is taught.
This is something that I actually teach in Boulder at the Institute for Resonance. And here's a really great example of the Washington Monument. And here the viewer, within like 2 minutes, is drawing the Washington Monument. And I can tell you statistically, it's very unlikely they'd be getting this by chance, because I have thousands of pictures we get these from magazines and other places. I have thousands of pictures we could be using. And for them to be getting this often shows that there's really something.
So is that channeling?
It's not channeling in the sense of channeling another being, but it could be like channeling yourself, if you know what I mean, that there's a part of our awareness that we're not normally in touch with when we're awake. And what this is like structured daydreaming. So you're partly in a daydreaming state, but it's structured. So it is getting to an aspect of yourself that I think most people are not normally in touch with unless you do a lot of mind-body practice, meditation, or perhaps a lot of athletics or something that really makes you really focused on yourself a lot of the time in that way.
What was the mind-boggling experience that said to you, this is real? I mean, this is really...
It's when I started drawing the pictures of the targets. And I just said, I can't, I realized, you know what? A lot of the things I learned in school probably aren't true. If this is possible, if I can describe something that I haven't seen ahead of time, and I'll tell you something, even if no one has seen the picture ahead of time, it still works. It's not like telepathy where you're reading the mind of someone who saw the picture, like you might have seen the picture ahead of time and I'm reading your mind. Even if we do a double-blind session where it's hidden from the monitor and the viewer.
So I'm trying to understand. So you're saying pictures in the folder.
Right.
And you know what the picture is in the folder.
Yeah, if I'm directing the session, sure.
Okay. And you could teach me
to perceive what's in there.
To perceive what's already in that folder.
Yeah, everybody can do this. It's built into us. It's just like a part of the software that our system has never activated in us. You know why? It teaches you to
say we use what? 10% of our brain?
Right.
If we're using that.
If we're using that.
I use more, but...
You, of course you do.
They say
But you know, there's more. What's going on with the other 90%? And this gets to that other aspect of our mind. And you know, everyone has these intuitions from time to time. You ever get the feeling you should call somebody at a certain time and they just said, you know, I was just thinking about you? Or you get the feeling you're driving, I shouldn't take that exit. And you normally do, but just the feeling that you should take another exit and you find there was an accident, there was really, that's the same portion of ourselves that we're using when we do remote viewing.
Well,
but
some
we're
people
just
would say
training
sixth
it.
sense.
Yeah, it's like the sixth sense or maybe even the seventh sense, depending how you look at it.